A lifelong rebel and extremist, willing to do just about whatever it took to accomplish his goals, Saw Gerrera accomplished many things in his life before his demise in Rogue One. With Andor just around the corner and confirmation that Saw Gerrera is going to be a part of it, I wanted to take this chance to look at where his story began. During the beginning of the Clone Wars, his home planet of Onderon tried to remain neutral under the leadership of Ramses Dendup, but at the height of the Clone Wars, the Separatists would take over the planet, and he would be replaced by Sanjay Rash, a puppet for Count Dooku. Many of the planet's people, however, would remain loyal to Dendup and become the spark of a new rebellion. But far outnumbered by the Separatist droid army and inexperienced, it was fated to be a losing battle. To get assistance for the cause, Saw Gerrera and Lux Bonteri would reach out to the Jedi Council for help. Unfortunately though, because the planet was actually aligned with Separatists, the Jedi couldn't openly be seen helping them. Ultimately, they would decide to send Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ashoka, and Rex to train the rebels to fight for themselves under strict rules to avoid getting involved in the conflict. Arriving on Onderon, the four begin training the rebel group. At this point, they don't really have a leader, but Saw Gerrera actually thinks of himself as the group's unofficial head. It's apparent to the Jedi that the group has heart and potential, but they lack knowledge, especially about fighting droids. They learn how to disable the AATs, which were droid-operated tanks, and how to deal with the droidicas, using EMP grenades that they call droid poppers. Saw seems to have a close relationship with his sister, Steele Gerrera, and they work really well together. But his relationship with their friend Lux is a bit strained. With Lux being the son of a senator, he thinks he's too weak. He thinks that actions and not words are what are needed to win the rebellion. During a shooting exercise, the group is ambushed by droids, but using the skills they were taught, they're actually able to defeat them pretty easily. Afterwards, they decide it's time to leave the safety of the forests and take the fight to the Separatists. Inside of Onderon's capital city, the rebels blend in really well with the locals and use guerrilla tactics with a large amount of success, even going so far as to knock out the city's power grid in an attempt to keep the droids from recharging. With victory and momentum in their favor, the rebels decide to make Steele their official leader. Even though Saw congratulates her with a smile, he's actually really pained and jealous. The new King Sanjay is concerned at this point, not really because of the droid death toll, because he sees them as expendable, but because he finds out that there was an attempt on his life. He reaches out to Dooku and tries to get further assistance, but even though he is displeased with Sanjay, Dooku decides to send General Kalani, a tactical droid, to accomplish what Sanjay can't. Now with a new official leader and figurehead, the rebels begin distributing hollows, letting the people know that Sanjay is a puppet king controlled by the Separatists and that he is silencing the old King Dendup. A lot more of the population at this point begins to side with the rebels, and Sanjay decides that it's actually time to have the old king executed and announces it publicly. Steele plans to rescue King Dendup during the execution, but Saw thinks that that's an obvious trap. He decides to set out on his own mission to try and rescue the king by himself. Without too much issue, Saw is actually able to scale the palace and break Dendup from his cell. However, the Separatists had been using a one-way shield and he was unable to get away. Captured and tortured by Kalani, Saw doesn't give them any information before the old General Tandon steps in and stops the incident, believing Saw to be in danger of dying. Saw accuses Tandon of being the reason they're stuck with the Separatists in the first place, and tells him that as a patriot, he is willing to fight for the planet. At the execution, the rebels show up to rescue the king, but are of course ambushed. However, thanks to Ahsoka stepping in and Tandon and his militia deciding to join the rebels, they're able to escape. Saw believes that they should take this fight directly into the city, regardless of what damage may be caused to the population, while Steele and Lux argue that they should draw the droid army out in order to protect the people. The battle with the droid army begins and goes pretty bad for the rebels at first. The droids have some new aerial gunships that have shields they can't penetrate, and they are tearing the rebels apart. They're also really outnumbered. Ahsoka again tries to contact the Jedi for help, but gets about the same answer. Anakin, however, does come up with an idea to contact Hondo, having him go to the planet with some rocket launchers that can blow through those gunships' shields. The rockets work well and the battle turns in the rebels' favor, but unfortunately as Saw destroys the last of the gunships, it crashes into the mountainside where his sister and the king are standing. Steele shoves Dendup to the safety, but falls, barely holding onto the cliffside. Ahsoka grabs her with the Force and attempts to lift her to safety, but she gets shot in the shoulder, dropping Steele to her death. Saw grieves for his beloved sister as he holds her in his arms and blames himself for killing her. Despite her loss though, they have their victory and the Separatists decide to leave Onderon. Afterwards, a funeral is held for Steele, but Saw knows that the war is not over. Anyways guys, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.